We probably, before I do my traditional run through some of the texts that dropped during PMQs, we probably need to hear the statement that Keir Starmer made about the China spy case at the top, because to understand how the leader of the opposition ended up sounding so ridiculous, you probably, I'm speculating that he kind of shot her fox before she stood up. So let's just have a listen to that.
I'm deeply disappointed by the outcome. We wanted to see prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, I know just how seriously, rightly, that you take these matters. National security will always be the first priority of this government, and we will always defend against espionage. Last night, the Crown Prosecution Service clarified that, in their view, the decision whether to publish the witness statements of the DSNA is for the government. I have therefore carefully considered this question this morning, and after legal advice, I have decided to publish the witness statements. Given the information contained, we will conduct a short process, but I want to make clear I intend to publish the witness statements in full.
Which kind of takes all of the stuffing out of any questions about what is being kept secret and what is being kept from the public. Who was it, Natasha Clark, who said honesty always gives you the advantage of surprise in the House of Commons?
Go on, tell me.
It was Jim Hacker, a fictional character from Yes Minister. This was actually from Series 2 of Yes Prime Minister. Honesty always... Because he did that thing again, which is rather rare, where she did a long question about, is he really... And you say, yes.
Go, yeah. And next.
He is a lawyer.
You can't out-lawyer Keir Starmer, can you? You
wouldn't have thought so. Although I discovered that Badenoch has a law degree.
She does, yeah, but he's clearly much better at it than she is.
But she never practised as a lawyer.
Yes.
And perhaps we had a rather irresistible demonstration of why.
But she was totally schooled there by the Prime Minister making that announcement at the top of PMQs, which is always something that you, as leader of the opposition, need to be prepared for.
Plan B.
Exactly. You need to have a plan B. You need to have a plan B in terms of your topics. And indeed, as your questions, as I think Daisy Cooper did as well, because obviously Liberal Democrat stand-in, because Ed Davies off at Min Campbell's funeral today, has got a list of other questions on this topic that the Lib Dems clearly want to raise on China, going in completely other directions. Yes. And Kemi Badenoch did not have those. She just repeatedly said, the CPS said this, are you really saying this? And again, I don't think it worked. She wasn't really prepared for him to publish that advice, which obviously he did agree to at the very start. So, yeah, not a fantastic performance from Kemi Badenoch.
She should get
there.
Chris on her team. Chris texted, I'm sure everyone plans carefully for PMQs, but it appears that the opposition had no planned alternative questions when it was completely obvious that her questions were silly, rendered silly, essentially, by the statement and by this promise to reveal all of the...
And actually,
all of the relevant witness statements.
Yeah, and you talk about, why should people care about this China story and what relevance is it to people? I thought Daisy Cooper's questions about Jimmy Lai, the Chinese embassy, failing to tackle espionage, a cosy relationship with China, and of course the Hong Kongers who have sought refuge in the UK, that all brings it a little bit closer to home. And those are all the things that Kemi Badenoch failed to do. She was asking very technical questions about the CPS and the case and the government and the threat level and law. And again, that was all things that Keir Starmer far, far stronger on. And as a result, I don't think she landed any blows there. There are real questions for the government about this case, about why it has collapsed, about why the CPS have been so forthright with blaming this government and saying what has changed between the last Tory government, this Labour government. Why is this? These two men were able to be charged, which obviously meant that there was a level of sort of burden of proof that was, would have had to have been met for them to have met that charging decision, but no longer is the case. These three witness statements will be published in full from Matt Collins, the Deputy Director of National Security. What are they going to say? Keir Starmer clearly happy for them to be out there, but there are unanswered questions. But I think Kemi Badenoch really failed to get to the heart of why this is an important case for the country.
You're talking about the DPP, Stephen Parkinson. As far as I understood it, what he said was that the government hadn't provided further evidence in order to allow the trial to proceed.
Yeah, and the government came back and said we have provided at least three witness statements.
But there might not have been any further evidence.
But if there wasn't, then why were they able to be charged in the first place under the evidence that the CPS did have?
But that was under the Conservative government.
I'm not sure I follow.
The original charges.
Yeah, so why was it? What has changed?
I'm advertising my ignorance.
Changed, right?
I don't know. But
it's a really tricky area.
I'm just not entirely trusting the journalism that's responsible for propelling this into the place that it's ended up in, because if there is not further evidence that has somehow been withheld, then I don't know what they're being accused of.
Well, they're basically, I think it was that they were charged under the what was previously an Espionage Act, which is some law was literally first launched in 1911. It was updated to become the National Security Act, which basically said that the level of proof that you had to prove that somebody was spying for another country was basically that you had to say another country was an enemy. So they are saying that because this government, the previous Tory government and this Labour government have both refused to call China an enemy or a threat, they are saying that the burden of proof from within government was not reached in order to get that. However, it does raise the question, how on earth did you charge these two men in the first place, and what has changed between you charging them and now them having this case dropped?
Well, I'm with Karen, except for the bit where she categorically stated that the quote that Keir Starmer read out, in which he accused her of refusing to call China a threat, and she claimed that she had actually called China a threat. And if you listen to the rest of the quote, you'd know that. So the bit he read out was, "I have shied away from calling China a threat." So let's actually listen to. Shall we listen to the rest of the quote, because we've managed to dig it out already?
Fundamentally, is China a friend or a foe? China is a country that we do a lot of business with. China is a country that is significant in terms of world economics. It sits on the UN Security Council. We certainly should not be describing China as a foe, but we can describe it as a challenge, which is what the Justice Secretary said yesterday, and which is what I'm saying today. I don't think we should be careless in terms of how we speak about other countries.
And the other quote, "I have shied away from calling China a threat," goes on, because I think that if you escalate in language, then you need to be ready to escalate in action. And would you like to have a guess at what headline Politics UK chose to report these comments under?
I feel like I'm at an advantage here because you already told me this. Kemi Badenoch refuses to call China a threat, I think, is the answer.
And that's the story to which she's referring. So, I mean, how much of the supposed goodwill that she generated during the conference speech has she now squandered in her first PMQs back in the building?
Yeah, it's fair to say that her last one, where she almost, got a scalp out of Peter Mandelson, and then 24 hours later he did eventually resign, was her strongest yet, and that probably was one of her weakest. So she's not done fantastically. Kemi Badenoch and other politicians from across the spectrum have repeatedly struggled to call China a threat, both inside government and outside government. And she is, I think, being disingenuous by saying, well, actually, there were plenty of government documents and plenty of national security reports that described China as a threat. Yes, but the government did not designate China as a threat. They are still not on the enhanced foreign influence tier, which other countries like Iran, for example, is on. It's clear that this government wants a closer relationship with China. Rachel Reeves has just been, Ed Miliband has been. Keir Starmer was meant to go to China this year. We expect that that trip is probably not going to happen, at least this year, potentially going into next now. There are questions for the government on exactly what's happened.
They're still involved in building power stations in this country.
They're involved in so many different things.
You can't really call them.
Well, exactly, and that really does bring into question the relationship with China, and also our economic, growth, which Keir Starmer is absolutely wanting to throw the book at. There has been a lot of talk from within government about exactly how we handle this relationship with China.
Which is a shame, because I thought that Daisy Cooper's questions were rather good as well. I'm glad that you've referenced them. And that question about Elon Musk and Stephen Lennon was particularly pertinent, but I'm frightened of saying anything else because of the live court proceedings that one of those characters is currently involved in, and whose legal fees are apparently being met by the other.